This is Oilersnation Radio, your one-stop shop for everything Oilers. 1 hour of straight hockey talk with Bagged Milk, Tyler, Liam, Rick, and Dan starts now.
Welcome in, Oilers Nation Radio. It is a, July 10th edition of the show for all intensive purposes. We're recording a little early because the Oilers gave us some news, and also Liam, myself, and Bagged Milk are all off on Thursday and Friday. So Dan, Rick, appreciate you guys coming in on Wednesday.
No problem.
Yeah. Great to be here. Great to talk some Oilers actual news in the summer.
The C on your sweater for a brief second, Dan, I was like, oh my God, you have blood on you. It's just a C. It's all good. Don't worry about it. You're not bleeding. We got news to talk about, boys. It's a very, I'll say, easy edition of the show today when the Oilers do something as big as they did. But it's our delicious debate. It's brought to you by Odd Company Brewing and Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for every day. Find one at your local liquor store by going to liquorconnect.com, punching in Odd Company Beer Nation or Odd Company Nation Beer, and finding one on the map. It's that easy. Let's start with this. The Oilers acquire Ike Howard. He wants to go by Ike, so the Oilers acquire Ike Howard from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Apparently, Stephen Ellis told Liam and I, this goes back to his days with the U.S. National Development Team.
Ike?
He keeps wanting to be called Ike, and no one will call him Ike. Kind of feel bad for him in that sense.
Hold on, do we have to keep that tradition rolling then?
Just not listen to him? Just keep calling him Isaac?
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have another ace on our hands here if we're not careful. Old Ace here speaking, letting everybody
Ike
know.
Here. Call me Ike. It'd be great if every media member when they go to him, we're like, Isaac, great to have you. And he just goes, call me Ike. And it's just a whole bit.
A running shtick, yeah.
But the Oilers acquire Ike Howard from the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for Sam O'Reilly. So O'Reilly, the 32nd overall pick in the 2024 draft, is out. Ike Howard, the 31st overall pick in the 2022 draft, is in. He won the Hobey Baker Award last year as the top player in the NCAA. He had 26 goals and 26 assists in 37 games with Michigan State University. So, your easy, delicious debate for today. Dan, I'll start with you. Do you like the Ike Howard trade?
I think I got to stay in my congruent line here going into this last week on the episode or on the podcast. I think I said don't raise your offer any more than that first round pick next year kind of mentality. So I think that's a little bit we gave them a little bit more than that first round pick is going to be, but you got to give to get, and we're in a situation now where there's no more of the tropes of win or bust or anything like that. It's just, we have to be all in, pushing in to show Connor McDavid that we are trying to do something. And you've got a guy here that can come in and play top line talent for us at the NHL level. So you got to pay to get that.
Well, we hope he can walk in and play at NHL level in a top line. We don't know that. He hasn't played a game. He hasn't played a second in AHL yet.
We assume.
I think what I would just parrot pretty much what everyone else has said, that you swap draft pick for draft pick, pretty much the same spot. But what you got is a guy with more offensive high potential and a guy who's ready to go right now, as opposed to a guy who's ready to go probably 2 years away at least in Sam O'Reilly. The only question I have, is he a little bit too much of the type of player we have already in terms of games 5 and 6 against Florida? We could not get into a scoring area.
Yeah.
I don't know if this dude's going to be getting to a scoring area. It was not easy. They did not allow us to. We had to force our way in there. Is he going to force his way in there? I'm not saying Sam O'Reilly was ever going to, but in terms of bringing guys in the top 6, I think we need guys who can force their way in and score those ugly goals. I don't know if he does that. I'm not against this move. If he's a guy who can score from the outside on whatever wing it is, cool. But I still think that even with this addition, we need guys who can get to the middle, get to the front of the net, in order before we start to really improve our offense.
Just before I let you guys answer, I did want to throw something back at you. Did the Trent Frederic 8-year signing signify something to a guy like a Sam O'Reilly, that perhaps he was going to have a glass ceiling that he was going to have to try and break through anyways?
Well, so yeah, Liam and I talked about it. It's pretty funny to see the people, certain Oilers fans online who a week ago, Sam O'Reilly was an underrated prospect who's going to be an NHLer sooner rather than later. What a talent. And then today it's he's a third line center. I mean, come on. And I get that, on the Oilers, any player who's a centerman, their ceiling is a third line center because you're never going to play above Connor and Leon, right? I mean, just to talk about it very generally. So I understand, I guess, where that could come from of like, okay, O'Reilly will never be more than a third line center. And maybe the Oilers do really believe in Frederic as a guy who, for the next 8 seasons, like they gave him that contract because they said, you know what, you weren't healthy, but when you are 100%, we think you're a centerman in the NHL. And then they sat there and said, okay, well, 1, 2, and 3 on our center depth chart is pretty lined up for the next number of years. We need wing depth more than we need help down the middle. And I mean, you still have Nuge who can move wherever you kind of need him to. And, you know, you can always go find or try to find bottom 6 centermen as well. That's why I like the deal is like, I think Howard's the ceiling in terms of the impact he can have in this lineup. Like, could O'Reilly have been a 50-point centerman who's a great penalty killer and good at both ends of the ice? Yeah, I think he actually probably will be that. Will O'Reilly ever score 30 goals in the NHL? Probably not. And Isaac Howard can score 30 goals on Connor McDavid's wing at some point in the next 3 years. Never mind, 2-3 years from now, O'Reilly's probably still just trying to break into the league.
Yeah, he's probably a guy whose production will be even better because he's on an ELC. I think that's the thing. And Rick, what you were saying, like, you need guys who get to the middle of the ice. He kind of does. Like, a lot of his goals do come from, like, the center area of the game, which is a positive thing. But he can also rip the puck and be lethal. Like, he's quite a dynamic goal scorer, I guess you could say.
I brought that up because I read a report last night. Obviously, it's just one little report from whoever that he has issues. If he has downfalls, it is getting to the ugly place on the ice. It is getting to the middle. Like, you can keep him. You can make him more of a perimeter player, and I believe we've had too much of that. We need guys who can get in there and get dirty.
Last season, he scored 29 goals, including the playoffs. 14 of them came from right in front of the net. 9 of them came from the slot area. So that's pretty good.
How physical is the league, though? Like, I'm just,
but you got to get there too. I think you
do. But if there's nobody in your way, it's easy to go there. If there's somebody in your way, I would like to know that he had to go past somebody in order to get there.
They'd have to go through and watch them a bit more.
We watched a few of them today. He definitely scores from distance quite a bit.
He can score. He can rip the puck, and I think that's one thing people really like is like Podkolzin can shoot, but he doesn't shoot
enough. Yeah,
he shoots, and I think that's something the others haven't had. I know Jeff Skinner is a one shot guy and has been throughout his career, but I think with a guy like Howard, he's just a bit more dynamic in that way. I think he skates a lot better than what a Jeff Skinner would have too, and I just think he fits the mold of what the Oilers wanted Skinner to be. Ironically, he also took Jeff Skinner's number 53, which is very funny. So I'm excited for the deal. I think it just moves the timeline a couple of years ahead of when Sam O'Reilly would have been in the team, and like we already mentioned, like, bit of a log jam for him to get into the lineup. Like, he might have just been a 4th-line center for a while, or just kept him in Bakersfield.
And I think also, like Stan Bowman said, like, we want to get younger. And he talked about he wanted to change the look of this forward group. Like, going into next year with a top 9 that has Savoie and Howard in it, that gets you considerably younger. Even just comparing it this year versus where we were 12 months ago, Frederic's only 27 years old. 28 years old, whatever he is now.
27.
Oh, he's still 27. It's like you have a 27-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 22-year-old.
And next year we might be able to add the Russian too.
Berezhkin, which would be unbelievable.
23.
Yeah.
And especially when you look at kind of the recent history of like Russians coming over and actually stepping into the lineups, playing really well. I think about like Voronkov in Columbus and how he just walked right into the NHL. Was
and
like,
he gets to see a bit of a younger lineup in front of him too. Therefore, maybe more enticing to bring him over.
Like, the Oilers need to win. The pressure is on to win a Stanley Cup every single year. But when everyone talked about, management this summer needs to prove to Connor McDavid that they can build a contender and whatever, maybe we're seeing it, taking that more as like he wants management to show him that they're going to be good for the duration of the contract. Not that they're going to be good for the next 2 years and then the bottom's going to fall out this team because Hyman and Nuge get a little bit too old and are past their primes, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, who's going to play with Connor and Leon? Mm-hmm. Bowman, I think, can sit there and go to Connor McDavid at the end of July and go, Berezhkin is legit. Here are the comparables for him. Yeah. We went and got Isaac Howard. We think Matt Savoie is ready. You're going to have 3 youngsters in your lineup who are going to be there for the next 7 years contributing with you.
Yep.
The thoughts that people have of McDavid having such a stranglehold on the organization,
that too,
is driving me mental. Like Bowman doesn't call him for every single move. Like they've shown him the plan and what the goal is for everything.
And Connor doesn't expect, nor does he want.
There's no way the budget doesn't run through Connor McDavid at this point. There's no way that the budget
anyone
doesn't
would
run.
think he's their case. Like it's crazy.
He's like, I did some market analysis. Beers could be $21. And they're like, yes, Connor, okay.
It just drives me a little nuts. Like someone asked it, it's like, is McDavid happy with all the moves? It's like, I don't know. He's going to have to come play anyway next season because he's under contract. Like, they don't have to make every decision. They do. Okay, we should reword it. They have to make every decision based off, like, this is our plan and we want him to stay. But, like, if he makes a move they don't like, it's not also the end of the world because they've made 3 other great moves. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird thing.
Another thing to add to that. This is in no way meant to be disrespectful. Do you think Connor McDavid has watched more than maybe somehow one period of either Isaac Howard or Sam O'Reilly play hockey?
He might have seen Howard at like a World Juniors.
Maybe.
Being like, oh,
maybe.
Yeah.
Christmas time, he's probably not even doing that.
That's the thing. Like he probably isn't that. They probably just told him, be like, this is what he does. And be like, oh, it sounds like a great player.
Although Connor is just so like, he's that extra level of just like study.
He's studying his game and the game of the guys he's got to play. I'm not so sure he's worried about a dude who was drafted 6 years behind him.
But if they go to him,
especially
and be like,
not on your own team.
If they're like, hey, this guy had 7 goals on the World Juniors on a U.S. team that won the gold medal. He won the Hobey Baker. Like he's a really good shooter. Like they're excited. Like Mangiapane spoke about it, being like, I spoke to McDavid before I signed. Like he helped recruit him to come to Edmonton. So
clearly, everything runs through Connor.
He's not just sat on the sidelines in one of these black chairs at Wear and being like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
Come on, Stan, do something. Like, he's actively part of this process, too.
It's true.
So the Oilers get Ike Howard. How nervous are you guys that Sam O'Reilly is going to blow up in our face?
Not nervous at all. I think they'll trade him.
I don't think you can really be that nervous just because we're going to be the player that has the impact first.
Yeah.
And like if you have 2 great years of Isaac Howard, then Sam O'Reilly comes in as a rookie and puts up 55 points. I don't think you're sitting there being like, shit.
Yeah. But the impact O'Reilly can put up in a season, it probably isn't going to be one that you sit there and go, man, I really wish we had, because it's not going to be very flashy.
No.
He's going to do a lot of things that the technical guys see and the real hockey watchers see. But in terms of flash and dash, he's not going to do a lot of that, I don't believe.
Also, too, and this is going to come across weird considering the organization, but like, pretty sure Tampa haven't developed like a strong player in a few years. I'm just trying to lock in this like reaction.
Hagel they got from Chicago.
Yeah, like all the other guys are just through. Like the last time they drafted a player and he played in the NHL was Dylan Duke from the 2021 draft.
How things work out for him?
I have no idea who he is.
Was Darren Radish one of their picks, or did they acquire him?
He was a free agent, I believe.
Oh wow!
Like the last first round pick that played games for them was Nolan Foote, who they traded away. Like it's just they're a great organization. I'm not saying they're not, but like they're probably looking at O'Reilly being like, damn, we need some talent in this pool as well. He's probably their best prospect now, I would think, not knowing much about him.
And that's the other part of it for them is that was a sunken cost in the sense that Howard was not going to be there at the end of the day. So
yeah, and again, I give them credit for not just caving to the 2027 first round pick or whatever other offers might have been. The other side of this too is this deal doesn't happen if Ike Howard doesn't sit there and go, I want to go to Edmonton. He talked in his introductory press conference about how he's watched every Oilers playoff game over the last 2 years and like how that had an influence on him. I mean, he's a kid from Hudson, Wisconsin, who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning. One of at that time, they'd been in 3 straight cup finals, like premier organizations in the league. And I know things soured for like reasons that don't really have anything to do with their on-ice product, but it is kind of cool, and it speaks to where the Oilers are at, that an American-born prospect didn't quite necessarily force his way to Edmonton, but he was forcing his way somewhere, and he was all right with it being Edmonton.
And he played Mark Messier in a movie.
Yeah, he did.
That was weird timing on that.
And also, too,
I love the helmet, by the way.
Yeah. With Howard, like, you look at that U.S. development team he was on, Rutger McGroarty forced his way to Pittsburgh, or out of Winnipeg, I guess you could say. Like Cutter Gauthier forced himself out of Philadelphia. Like his buddies, or at least guys he played with, were doing what he kind of did in Tampa Bay, but they were going to markets that like would benefit them in America. Yeah. He did it to come to a Canadian team.
Although forcing your way out of Philly is kind of a weird choice.
It was a strange one, but more ice time in Anaheim, I guess.
Do you buy anything? I mean, Nick Alberga loves shitting on the Edmonton Oilers online. He was like, Howard's cocky attitude will wear thin. I don't think it will, because I think the Oilers' room is strong enough. They withstood Evander Kane for 3 seasons.
I was going to say, do you think he's cockier than Evander?
The internet on the Oilers subreddit, there was some user last night that was really trying to make him wholly unlikable throughout the entire evening. But
also, easy to be cocky when you're winning the Hobey Baker and you're the best player at Michigan State and all that.
Dressing room.
Yep. A lot different when you walk in Connor and Leon. If you step out of line, you have Connor, I maybe wouldn't even be that scared of. If Leon were to look at you and be like, fucking figure it out, not here. Yeah, you probably like, ooh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Draisaitl.
That's true. I asked Stephen Ellis about this too, but like, he's a guy that's always been overshadowed. Like, he led that American team in goals.
Yep.
Like, he was the guy who was scoring all the points.
Without being captain?
And he was not the captain of those teams, no. But like, they had other great players, and I know a few of them went off to play like World Juniors games and stuff like that. But you don't just stumble into 33 goals on a team like that. You know what I mean? Like, he is an elite capable of being an elite player, I think.
I just want to see how that plays out, like, on the ice, and what his character is like once he actually kind of fits into this team, where it is, if he is going to be this, smug little cocky guy on the ice that's going to piss off some people, or if he's going to
piss off the other team, I'm all for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also, too, like, the Oilers have openly, there's been open reports about it being like they miss having younger characters in the room. Like, they miss the whole
energy, yeah. The energy they bring.
Evan Bouchard needs friends.
Yeah, he does.
They traded all his fucking friends.
Yeah. I think it's a good move, and whatever helps Nick Alberga sleep at night is my final answer.
Poor Nick.
I can't wait for McDavid to sign his extension, and we just get to fucking.
I hope that he sends it to Nick.
You should be more worried about fucking Austin staying there than anything else.
He really should be.
That's why he is. That's why this is called projection. It's a whole thing.
Bob Stauffer tweeted out his projected lines for next season, and at the bottom he put subject to change with a little winky face. So part 2 of the delicious debate. Do you think Stan Bowman's done? I think he's done. I think this is the group. This is the team the Oilers are going to roll with in next season.
I still think that there's a goalie change afoot at some point.
Before the season?
Like a free agent, like a backup even?
Yep. I think that there's something that's going to change. I know that the name has been floated out a few times, and I'm starting to kind of...
What name?
The
Fleury.
Carter Hart.
I'm hearing Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, I think
I could see Fleury as well. That was
reached out for that.
That was the Franck account that put that out first and had that. But I still think that there's just going to be a wild card in that position that we haven't thought of, even with maybe it isn't a Fleury, maybe it isn't a Nuka-Pekka Luukkonen, maybe it's something else. But I still think goaltending.
There was a legit report though before Franck got to it. Like Fleury was available. Franck just put out that Fleury signed with
just to start the fire.
Yeah. We've not been duped by Franck, everyone.
But no, that's a legit thing. Colby and I talked about it today on DFO Live that like the Oilers would be a team that could maybe have a shot at convincing Fleury to come out of retirement. And
didn't his agent come out and say like 5 teams contacted him on July 1?
Yeah, Alan Walsh had a tweet about it.
Yeah, you didn't specify who.
No,
but I mean,
we do be.
I'd be very surprised if we didn't.
I know everyone's
pick the
saying
phone up and just make a phone call and ask.
I know everyone's saying Sorokin and Frank, the real Frank, said on the big program with Kevin Karius the other day that there's been rumblings about Sorokin. And listen, we'll get to this in the news, so we won't go into this now. The only way to get someone with the capita of a Sorokin is to trade someone making $8 to $9 million. The Oilers obviously aren't going to be able to trade someone making $8 to $9 million.
We're not going to be able to trade $2-3 million guys either. Just for the record here, EA Sports traders.
Yeah. So I just think they're done because they're cap strapped. Unless there's a low cost goalie, I should say, not low end, low cost goalie that's out there. Because I know you mentioned UPL, and I know you're just riffing names, but people keep bringing him up.
Yep.
You need to clear out $5 million to get him. Okay, Pickard's contract is $1. Where's the rest of the money coming from?
That's
you're
that's the largest contract out there of the guy who might be movable.
But people keep saying him, but
2 years ago,
you're not getting him. You're not convincing him to waive to go to Buffalo.
This is
I mean, you might have to
dump him somewhere and
Rexall GCs on the side or something like that. I don't know.
In Buffalo?
Well, I don't know. The Rexall's like a North American company, aren't they?
No, it's strictly Canadian.
Well, it's pretty close to Toronto.
It's not fun. You could drive.
Adam Henrique is an Ontario boy, but I don't think you're convincing a guy that late in his career to I'll rot away in Buffalo for a little bit.
He already did that in Anaheim for years.
Yeah,
and he turned down Winnipeg.
I think that we're gonna see PTO and a backup goalie.
Oh, PTO, everyone.
There's some good players still out there. I know he's
whom.
well for PTO candidates. Well, the top guys still available. Matt Grzelcyk, Jack Roslovic, and Jeff Skinner. I would imagine those guys get contracts before it's all out. Luke Cunnin, someone the Oilers have shown interest in before. Brett Leeson, 26-year-old right winger, another name that Bob Stauffer has thrown out there quite a few times. The player everyone loved a couple of years ago, Jacob Vrana, is currently a free agent.
He's so funny because whenever he plays, he scores so much.
So often.
But he just can't play anywhere.
Jacob Lauko, 25-year-old from the Bruins last season. Like, there's a few guys you could look at and be like, oh, he's a PTO. Noah Gregor.
You can offer, but do you think they would come here? Just when you look at the roster we have, you probably have 15, maybe 16 forwards in your way.
I think it's not always about signing for that team. I think it's about showcasing.
That is fair too. And even that though, like if you were to come to a team like this, do you think you get the opportunity in camp, in exhibition games, to show off when you have these other guys ahead of you that are trying to, especially younger guys ahead of you, trying to crack the lineup? Okay, I can see our coaching staff go, why would you want to play a 27-year-old in exhibition games when you have 22 and 23-year-olds to play?
But just for example, Noah Gregor, 26. If he comes in and outplays Janmark and Kapanen and Tomasek, like I think that's actually not as bad of a spot for a PTO guy to come in and do.
I think it'll take a lot to convince his coaching staff Janmark's not on the opening night roster.
Yeah, I agree. But I just think that like it's not out of the question. Like I think there's a lot of spots available on New Oilers despite how full the roster is.
Do you think there is a way to move the Henrique contract and then replace him with, say, one of the PTOs that Liam just brought up at a much lower $1 million cost? Like, there's got to be somewhere that he'd be like, all right, that's not terrible.
But I think if there was somewhere where Henrique went like, yes, I'm willing to go there, and that team's like, we will take him at $3 million and give you a fourth rounder or whatever you'd want for him. I feel like it's done already.
You think it's done already?
July 2, July 3.
There's no team out there who's going to like, we'll wait a couple days into UFA season, see if there's, you know what, Henrique might be Henrique might be our best.
Probably around camp time.
Or do we have to wait for a summer injury to pop up?
Well, yeah, guys get injured all the time, don't they, in training camp? Like someone gets injured, it's like, hey, like we'll take Frederick. But also,
a vet like Henrique,
he's a good player.
A vet like Henrique, I think, wants to
win.
I don't mean like he goes to Buffalo again. Yeah. Sorry, Buffalo, but like say
I'm not sorry.
I don't know, any other half decent team is like
Columbus.
Our third line center got injured. Sure, Columbus was like
Toronto.
And I think if Henrique was willing to waive it all, maybe Toronto.
That's what I mean.
I mean, he's a Toronto guy or Ontario.
I just think if he was willing to waive it all, he would have waived already to be like, I'm gonna move there and like I'm not doing this whole song and dance in September where I'm trying to find a place to live.
I agree. I also think too, Henrique is a good player.
He's fine.
Henrique? I think him as your third, fourth line center when playoffs come around.
I want him as a winger.
I have him as a winger, wherever. If he's in your bottom six, it's not a bad thing to have.
Because he can play center as well. You have a bunch of guys now who can play center and the wing.
There's other guys who make too much money that shouldn't be on this team anyway.
All right, save that for later. Okay, we got a couple other things to get to. Let's get to, we'll call it the news for our friends at Swiss Donaire. Swiss Donaire, home of the old school Donaire with options if you want some flair. Open for 25 years and now open 7 days a week. The pride of the North Side, Swiss Donaire, is great for your events at home or the office. Check out their location, 8308 144th Ave Northwest, or order online at SwissDonaire.com. A late night snack, a great hearty meal, or perfect for catering as well. SwissDonaire.com. I need to dip out of this one early, so I'm dropping this in here like a grenade and then walking out. Darnell Nurse and the rumors about his no movement clause. Elliot Friedman says the Oilers approached everybody who had a no movement clause and asked if they'd be willing to go somewhere. Arvidsson was the only one willing to do it. And then everyone from there went, well, Darnell Nurse wasn't willing to do it. He puts out the why the fuck you lying guy, why you always lying on his Instagram story. So he throws some cold water on it. But what do you make? I guess, Rick, you can go first.
Who was he yelling at? Who was he saying you're lying?
I don't know.
The people that said they asked him. The people that said they asked him. He said no.
Well, imagine if that was it.
Like I just
yes.
To be fair, I believe most GMs probably do this every offseason.
Probably.
With anybody who has no trades, like go to the agents. Is everybody happy or does anybody want out? Like we're moving into this season right now where we can move contracts. Does anybody here that have no trades want to move out? You do? Cool. You guys are good here? All right, just checking. Now we can move on with our summer. I don't think they went out there and said, hey, we want to move you. Are you willing to?
I think every player basically gets asked this question besides, like, McDavid, Draisaitl, probably
And
huge.
they're not asking the player, are they? They're asking the agent. Would your client like to move? Is your client happy in his contract right now?
I think it's probably both. I'm sure they've spoken to agents. Like in Arvidsson, for example, I'm sure it was brought up a lot more before. But like,
Yeah, he asked to leave. He asked to be traded at the deadline.
So they probably were just making sure, being like, "Hey, would you go?" Obviously, Evander Kane would have said too. I think. I know he had
he had a team. He had a select amount of teams.
So there was reports that they helped.
Yes, they went to a team where he wanted to go.
Yeah,
or he was okay going.
A good thing too.
Yep.
This is so stupid because and I know and I hear what you're saying, Rick. I agree with it to a certain extent that it's probably just an exercise that they have to do every summer.
On every
What's
team.
the point of having them if that's the exercise that you're going to do? What's the point of having no movement clauses if you're going to broach the subject every single time and stir this up to the point where, to me, it's for Elliott or any insider to be reporting that specifically about a team, they have to be confident to be able to say that. And they're not confident enough to also say, well, the rest of the teams are probably also doing this too. So it is something that's kind of out of left field, and it is kind of annoying that for me, for the team to have to keep asking this. But at the same time, you have to accept the fact that
why would the player sign it then and that's be traded out?
Well,
but based on what you're saying about the team, then why would the player ask to be traded out after knowing they signed one saying don't trade me?
Well, that's the negotiation, and that's why I think you don't give players, you just don't give them that control. But the idea of that no movement clause is you're handing the control of their transaction over to them, right?
I just think that the league should put a max. In the NFL,
yes,
they have the thing of
I'm all for that
franchise tag.
Yes.
18 gets one. I know that's probably not enough, but
I am all for bigger government in sports. We need this.
You get 5 no movement clauses on your teams.
Why does the NHL care? If you want to hang yourself and set yourself up in the wrong spot, that's up to you. Your own business.
Wouldn't, but
I don't want anybody telling me how to run my business.
That would have been a good move. I think,
and they just made a new CBA and didn't. I don't know if that was even brought up.
But that's something I would have liked.
Just like I would have loved to have seen them be able to renegotiate their contracts.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
For the players
because then you can run into the NBA.
What do you mean?
What's the NBA?
Or even in the NFL, you have one good season as a rookie, and all of a sudden, no, I should be making more. I should make you top. Well, no, that's.
But see, I believe that hockey has the intrinsic, kind of baked in team aspect to it that allows you to be able to say, because you have that every time, anyways. You got Mitch Marner holding out for contracts. You
didn't hold out for anything.
Didn't he sit out of camp?
I remember.
Swayman's, Nylander is what I was thinking of. Swayman holding out for camp for his contract numbers. I think that's going to be natural.
At a time when they didn't have a contract.
But how about a guy like Darnell Nurse to be able to slow down some of the noise around him? He's able to go to the team and say, "Hey, I'd like to renegotiate, spread out some more years, give me some more years, lower my term."
You think a player is going to walk up to the GM and go, "I'm making too much money"?
I don't know.
No, because they would keep all that money still. Just spread it
further.
Yeah, but now you're making it over more time.
But it depends how his contract.
I'm getting paid too much money per year. I would like to get less now.
But if he's say his signing bonus, I believe they just stay the same, and it's his salary the average salary would.
Well, that's all changing in the next CBA, anyways. I believe the largest signing bonus you can have going forward is $6 million, but it also might be a percentage of what your. It might be 60% of what your cap hit is. So if you're making 12. It has to be 6 and 6 at best.
Right. Well, maybe that's them. I don't know. I just think that a good way to do it would be you can only have so many players, and it basically makes it more exciting for the fan perspective. Players get traded a little bit more.
I was going to say that would help your trade deadline problems. But
what's wrong with the deadline?
Well, they actually just totally screwed it up. Did you see what happened in the new CBA? Everyone would do 3-team trades to reduce everything.
Sure.
You cannot be traded and then traded again immediately. You have to stay on that one team for 75 days. What? So when the trade deadline comes around, you can't just make 3-team trades. So it makes me wonder you
can make a 3-team trade. You just can't make that. You can't make the retention and then another retention. Technically that's 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, but
along those lines. But most teams don't really make 3 teams.
Very rarely now. Now you see a lot more retention, and then I make one with you with retention on this guy already.
Yeah. So I wonder if when the draft is around, the summer, how often now we'll see 50% retention on contracts. outside of the season. So then when the season comes around and team B has a player, for example, let's just say Montreal.
Because you can only have two.
You can have four
retentions
on your books.
Okay.
Yeah, that includes buyouts too, I believe. Maybe it's 6 in total with buyouts, whatever it is. There's limited. If you have Montreal trade a player to Chicago in the offseason, it doesn't work, but they've already retained 50% of him. Why would they not just flip him at the deadline or closer to, and then they get more assets for it? So I think the trade deadline itself might not be as fun, but we'll see a lot more trades throughout the season.
And see, you know what? When I come, I know we've talked about you want more trades, you want more trade, but then you turn into the NBA, and I'd lose my mind if I was in the NBA.
All the transactions.
Yeah, with guys forcing their way out because whatever. No. You would trust me. You don't want that.
Yeah.
You want a guy you've got two of the greatest players in the world right now who, if this is the NBA, they've asked to be traded. They've been traded twice already. That's not what you want. And that's absolutely insanity in my mind.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think that's also that's been something that's built up. It wasn't like they put in those rules to be able to renegotiate the contracts and then.
Nobody was wanting to do that when it was the Jordan era.
Nope, that's true. Yeah.
So it did kind of pop up soon as they're allowed to.
But it's not like that.
Your egos take over.
But it's not like that.
Team.
Like it's not like the LeBron, the super teams just happened right after that was made available to them.
No, the super teams started 15 years ago yesterday or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's those are things that you have to obviously foresee for your organization and for your sport going forward.
Super teams were before that.
You had the Celtics with those big three.
Yeah.
But that almost came to that was probably the first one, but then you had a super team because the two guys joined
in the offseason.
Yeah,
kind of
I guess
thing.
in that way of free agency. Yeah,
they just created it.
They added the two biggest names, and then they introduced them as 1, 2, and 3, and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, or whatever the hell he said.
Oh yeah, they 1, 2.
Well, and now we're doing that with college kids. I just saw you splashed up on your screen there. The college.
I don't know about that either.
The announcement there, Penn State.
Well, this is
McKenna.
Actually
the guys,
the Hobey Baker winners, but
I just got reminded of the college thing.
I'm coming back, and it was Logan Cooley, Rutger McGrady, and Isaac Howard, and then all three of them signed in the NHL the next season. But I guess we can talk about that really quickly. Gavin McKenna made his decision yesterday on ESPN, funnily enough, like LeBron, that he would go to Penn State next season. The NIL money looks like it'll be extremely high, but
$700,000.
Some of the players like Jackson Smith, who was also going to Penn State and was a first-round pick this year, being like, the numbers that were thrown around for my deal were outrageous. They weren't even close to what the actual deal ended up being. So I don't think he's actually going to get paid $700,000. I think it's a lot less than that. I think he's getting paid a lot of money, but I don't think it's anything close to that. But what do you guys make of Gavin McKenna, who's from the Medicine Hat Tigers, going to the Penn State Nittany Lions? I think they're called
Nittany Lions. Yep.
Great program. Dan, you clearly feel passionate about this. That's a program that's been in the news in the past, unfortunately, for some things that I was covering football back in that day, hockey. So that's why I know Nittany Lions so well. For this, it's a weird, first of all, ESPN, we've done this before. We've talked about how awful that was for LeBron's brand to have him do a decision. Can we not do that? It was so cringy and awkward where he was
doing it in football all the time.
McKenna was doing it in his room, and I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just old school, and I
just don't think we see it as often because football players do it. I think the baseball players do it. I think basketball players do it, and they do something silly where there's 6 hats in front of them.
Yeah,
and he puts this one on. Just kidding. That one, no. That one, no. Okay, we get it. You're gonna go through all the 6. Yeah. No, and then I have one under the table, and that's Jesus, come on.
It's Bemidji State. Yeah, congratulations. I think it's sorry, Dan. Go on.
No, I was just that was my first thought is get rid of that announcement nonsense. But I am really just fascinated to see how this kind of all settles. We just talked about in our previous segment with Rick there about the renegotiative contracts and how that's changed a sport. This is going to change so much in our sport when it comes to junior hockey and then the college hockey level of skill. Money talks, and these players are not, it's not just good enough that the CHL will cover your education after you're done kind of thing. These guys are now getting cash, and rightfully so.
I also think, too, the college lifestyle is significantly better than what a junior hockey player would have to go through.
Yeah.
Like,
are we talking like the parties or what are we talking?
Season is shorter.
Strictly
Which
hockey
isn't, I don't think is a good thing.
No, I think it's an amazing thing.
You think an amazing thing that they play half the amount of games?
Yeah, I think it's way better because you have more time to develop yourself off the ice, which I think is what limits a lot of players when they get to the NHL.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean off the ice?
Practice.
Like they practice a lot more. They're in the gym a lot more outside of games. They're in the gym a lot more. They're only playing a couple games a week. It's a lot less stress on the body in game. I think when they come to the NHL, they're better suited in the strength department. In that way of things, like obviously, I think the games will gradually increase in college hockey as more and more teams come about because there's going to be way more players wanting to go to the NCAA. Mm-hmm. I think in junior hockey, I think the guys are on the bus way too much. The travel is brutal for some teams. Like you look at the teams that, especially in Western Canada, that's why I know more about. But like the Victoria Royals lose their best 2 players. Like because they have to travel so far sometimes for games. Where like you might not see it as much in the OHL because the travel's a lot easier on guys and stuff like that. Like you sleep in your own bed a lot. It's similar to what the NHL is. It's like, well, look at the travel in the East compared to the West. And I think that actually does play a factor in it. And also too, like one thing that just doesn't seem to be thrown out there about this at all is like these players will sign NHL deals before and stay in the CHL. Like we saw it yesterday with Ben Kindle, who's a Calgary Hitman player and a Pittsburgh Penguin prospect. Like he signed his contract, he's staying. Jake O'Brien did the same thing with the Kraken. Like for Gavin McKenna, he had nothing to prove anymore in the CHL. He needed to go up there to continue his development and take that next step. And like, he's an elite program in Penn State.
Well, there's 2 sides to this, right? Because you're right. There is the Gavin McKennas out there who played 2 years in medicine, absolutely destroyed it. And next year was going to just be that much better than everybody else. Now you can go to college, play against guys who are older, larger, and kind of find like a halfway point between the CHL and the NHL because that's kind of so it's kind of more along the lines of what Austin Matthews did by going to Europe
and Macklin Celebrini did it
too.
So
but that's such a small fraction of the guys.
Yep.
Do you not see that the CHL is going to take a hit to this because of dollars? Like this, to me, outside of the Gavin McKennas, and maybe there's 3 or 4 guys per year out of the whole CHL that can say, you know what, I need the better competition next year because everything here has just been too easy for me for the last year or 2. I get that. But aren't there going to be guys who are like mid-level players or even top-end players, but not the Gavin McKennas, who are going to be challenged next year in the CHL? You know, at a point per game player, or you know, you want to go from a point to a point and a quarter per game player who are going to go to the college. The CHL is going to lose players because of it.
Yep.
And it's really only chasing the dollars.
But I think there's also,
and I mean, this is I'm interested in your answers because you come from these CHL teams. This is actually affecting you in a way that I would assume that you don't like as much, being that you are directly attached to a team.
Well, sorry, Liam, I want to interrupt you just because I want to add to that because I think you are the expert here. Like, does it not siphon off just the 18, 19, 20-year-olds kind of mentality so that the CHL can then focus on a younger talent pool and a younger group of players that they perhaps have not, they've been stymied because they focus on that 19 and then the 20-year-olds where they've had to put in a rule to keep them.
That's how I'm kind of looking at it from 2 perspectives. One, the NCAA is better than the CHL.
How so?
It's just a better league.
Just because they're older and larger human beings?
Pretty much.
But the CHL produces more draft picks and NHL players per year than NCAA, no?
Yeah, but a lot of players wouldn't go to the NCAA who are in a draft eligible year because they're older. So they would come from the USA.
But you don't think they're going to go now because they can go make money?
I think that we will see players who, like, I think a really good example of someone who would have benefited from this is Andrew Cristall, who I believe he was a second-round pick by the Capitals, maybe first, whatever it was. He had already put up like 100 points in the with the Kelowna Rockets, but couldn't play in the American League because he was too young. Like, that's a player who deserves to go and play at the next level.
I agree, but do you think like 17-year-olds are going to go?
I think
who are
that
gonna
very few will go. I don't think it'll be.
You don't think they're going to go chase the dollar?
No, I don't think they all will. Like, I think you look at guys like Keaton Verhoff went this year and Gavin McKenna. It's like, those are 2 top 5 picks. I also think
But this year was the first time.
Yeah, but I think these college programs too are going to be like, well, why would I want this 17-year-old when I can just get a guy who went in the first round? Like, I know these guys might be top 5 picks, whatever, and those two are like certain things, but I don't think we're just going to see like a random 17-year-old. It might be like a late first, early second round pick go, because they do need mature players.
But I think you'll see bottom level NCAA teams throw the money at the younger guys.
They won't be able to afford them.
Why?
Those programs won't have the dollars. Like, if you look at the teams that were in on McKenna, it was Denver, Penn State, Michigan State, like Minnesota. The top,
but you're
teams.
you're going after you're going after the McKennas, who are obviously going to cost you more. But what about guys who are like 2 rungs down from McKenna?
It'll really depend on what the program has to offer. Like, that's the thing.
But don't you think that when talking to 17-year-olds, dollar signs are going to do it?
But if you look at, like, let's just say Kelowna Rockets. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have the Kelowna Rockets. You're a 17-year-old kid who plays on that team. Why would you go and play in, like, Bemidji State, for example?
Dollars.
But it's also based off, like, lifestyle a little bit, too, for these players. And I think that will matter, because you can commit to Bemidji State, just example again, and just go the year after.
These guys are getting thrown under the bus by you today.
I think that's what we'll see is, like, a lot of kids will commit young. Like, there's a kid called Cooper Williams. He's from Calgary, plays for the Blades, Saskatoon Blades. He's committed to go to North Dakota not this season, but the one after. I think that's what we'll see is, like, a lot of these kids will start getting claimed when they're 16, 17, but they won't go until they're 18. So I think that's what'll happen.
So they'll get claimed. You'll kind of own their rights, and they'll still. So now the CHL is going to become the AHL to the NCAA being the NHL.
In a way, I think that will happen.
They'll become like a feeder league.
But also too, like what Dan said, like I think it's just actually allows a larger talent pool for the CHL in the way of like, oh, we're actually going to bring up our 16-year-old this season.
Are we still going to be able to bring over American kids?
Oh yeah.
And European kids?
Yep. They actually just expanded the CHL import draft to 3 rounds.
They have to.
2. Yeah, and all the American kids are coming to the CHL. Like, they want to play in Canada.
But what happens when NCAA starts to get that much better? Because they're taking, like, the Gavin McKenna's and all these top-end guys are going there.
There'll just be too many. There's not enough spots. A lot of that stuff won't happen until they expand so much.
Yeah, like, I'm not talking things are going to happen tomorrow. No, but I'm talking like 5, 6, 7 years down the road.
But I think that's fine. I think it's about the development of the game itself. And, like, of course, like, we all want to see these CHL teams. They've known for so long that they are, like, the best level that these kids can play at before they go pro. I think they need to adapt their mindset of, like, we actually need to get our players drafted. The goal should be drafted because then you get the money, and that's important for these programs, of course. But, like, from there, if Gavin McKenna, Cole Reshney are like, hey, like, thanks for your time, but I'm leaving. Those teams need to be ready for that and have to accept it.
Yeah, but you're gonna lose like, I don't know how much these teams rely on ticket sales or butts in the seats, but you're gonna lose them when you don't all of a sudden don't have a Bedard hanging out in.
I agree. You in Regina for sure, but like the exciting part is, especially in Western Canada, the programs have got so much better that these stars are coming way more regular, and you're getting better and better players through. And now that the Western League is the best example, is you're getting such a big pool of Minnesota players, they want to come play in your league now. So you're actually able to, we haven't seen this yet, but I think this is my perspective on it. You're going to see more players, better players in these leagues now because of the US and the eligibility to play in the NCAA.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good point. And in listening to all that, it's kind of unlocked 2 things for me. One thing is it really addresses the whole AHL tweeners issue that's happened.
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin was another guy that in Halifax wins the Memorial Cup with that super team, but then he's kind of stuck there after McKinnon graduates to the NHL, and his development was just stagnated. And frankly, you can see it now in his NHL play versus a guy like Nathan McKinnon. So yeah, that's interesting to me. And then the other part of it is, to your point, Rick, good. If the NCAA gets better and we get more programs and they're pulling in more players, that's a good thing, because then that forces first of all, it forces players to get better. It has players getting better with it, which is a great unintended consequence. The second thing is,
how does it get players to be better if they lose their better talent?
Because their development trajectory is allowed to continue. excuse me, in a more development.
You're not playing against better. You're not playing against better players, though.
No, but you're in a system where they are developing players, not like the AHL, where you're playing games to sell tickets in the AHL market and maybe catch the eye of the NHL and all these different things. You are just in the NCAA to go to school and develop your skills as an NHL
You're not
hockey
going
player.
to school.
No, I know, but those are the two reasons that you're there, right? Is the existence. You don't have anything else under you, and you're getting paid to do it.
I still think money is going to win, and you're going to see guys chase money instead of.
Yep. And I think
I don't think that's a good thing for the CHL.
The second part of that,
like a team of the Edmonton Oil Kings.
The second part I was going to say is that I think that's going to help those teams then kind of light a fire under them, where their ownership has to say, we have to become somewhat of a destination again.
You have to do that in the CHL anyways, because you go through such roller coasters where you're at the top of the top, then all your guys get drafted, boom, now you're at the bottom again, and then that's where you're out there trying to do all that stuff.
But for the league as a whole, it's just been really comfortable living for them for a long time because they're the development league of the National Hockey League, and that's it. And now that's not the way it is. And so I think it is going to light a fire. I do think that there is going to be other negative unintended consequences. I'm not just being rosy-eyed colored and pretending it's bad. It's not great, but yeah.
I don't think this is the greatest thing. I think you need to cap the amount of people that can go or something like that. But I think just opening the doors, the CHL is going to take a massive hit.
Yeah, I guess last thing, I think the NCAA will just fix NIL stuff. Once they do that and be like, hey, you have $500,000 to spend on your hockey program.
Right.
And maybe they already do have that in certain programs. That's why some have some.
There might be internal budgets, but there's definitely no external budgets right now.
But I think that's the way they will fix it.
Because you've actually seen how NIL money has affected NCAA football, and it's probably not for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good one. I love that. That went way longer than I thought it would.
It was 25 minutes.
There you go.
Okay. Back to the good stuff. Betting talk brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app today and get in on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Rick, the Elks won, and they were the underdogs on the weekend.
Is that not what I told you?
You did tell me. I didn't do it.
And for the record, plus 7,000 down to plus 3,000.
Well, who do they play this week? They're BC Lions, right?
And I think we're 3.5 point dogs to them playing at home. Mm-hmm. This is it's going to be a tough game, but I think our defense is getting better and better. And I would look at this team as another underdog money line win.
Plus 135 on the money line. They are plus 3 on the spread. Over under is 51. And like you said, what did you say? They're now still
plus 3,000.
Did you get a good cash out on it yet?
No. There's definitely no cash outs.
Plus 3,000 on the futures there. Let me get to hockey here, and we'll tell you what Isaac Howard's Calder trophy odds are. Are they up yet? Yeah, they must be right here. College. There we go. Calder. Isaac Howard. Well, Matthew Savoie is...
First of all, it's Ike.
Ike Howard. My apologies. Matthew Savoie, though. Plus 2,800 to win the Calder Trophy next season.
And Ike?
Let me just keep scrolling here. Ike, plus 2,500. So he's actually more. They just haven't updated the list yet. But he was second last.
I would think
that's a good option.
I would look sprinkling at both of those guys.
Speaking of not updating yet, the game one starting goalie still has odds. Still have Jake Allen at plus 400 to be the Oilers starting goalie.
365 gets summer vacations too, I guess.
Yes, yeah, that's it. You know what? And I was thinking about it as I'm thinking. It doesn't really hurt them if somebody's not paying attention. So whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. There's been no movement whatsoever as to a name popping up the line there.
Any other bets?
Now that we have brought in perhaps our best rookie, have we moved up at all in terms of Stanley Cup odds?
Plus 750.
We lost. I think we were 700 last show.
Oh no. Florida is plus 600. Oh yeah, that's right. Because it was us in Carolina and Florida was third, which never made sense to me at all.
I'll give you you guys some over unders here to do. I've brought up the player regular season points.
Okay. I'm switching seats as well because I have to do buttons.
Okay, perfect. So this is a perfect segue to give you an opportunity, and I will make sure I stretch it out a little bit. But the first thing, and again, we're looking for players' regular season points. First player listed is Brad Marchand. Liam, over under 56.5 points.
Over.
Okay. Rick, you think it's even right now? It's minus 105.
Yeah, I think that's under.
Okay.
56. Yeah.
What about one Mitchell Marner at 92.5 points?
Over. Oh, hey, Tyler's
That's
back.
over.
You're taking the over on that one? Man, that feels really high to me. But I guess Vegas is going to be an offensive juggernaut. We're doing over-under quickly here, Tyler. Over-under, Mitch Marner, 92.5 points this season.
Over.
Yeah,
He was 102 last year.
I said over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marshy?
Marchand. Oh, yeah, the Marchand was 56.5.
Under. Under. Smash that under. I love that under.
I said
All right.
over.
I said under.
Speaking of 56.5, they also have Noah Dobson, newest Montreal Canadian, listed at 56.5 points.
Under. He's not going to get PP one time.
Yeah, and
Doesn't matter. Okay, no, I don't know where he is playing, but I saw a little
Montreal.
blur. I don't know where he is playing in terms of the power play. Dude has 2 power play goals in 2 years.
Dobson?
No,
Yeah.
really?
Can someone double check this? I saw a tweet. I don't know. Obviously, I just take the tweets or the headlines and run with it. I don't really do the.
That's how any good conversation starts.
Well, I think there was.
That's absolutely correct. He has 10 power play goals in 388 career games.
Damn.
So
83
pound
power
the
play
over
points.
of 56.5
He only had
points.
39 points last season.
That's crazy.
Getting PP1.
Yeah.
Now he's not getting PP1.
No, he is not.
Take the under on Noah Dobson is what we're saying. And finally, Trevor Zegras at 50.5 points on the season with the Philadelphia Flyers.
Over.
Probably the over because you'll be topping the guy
They'll
there.
play after play him.
There you
I
go.
would say over as well. Is those the only ones that are up right now?
They also have JJ Paterka.
Yeah.
He's at 72.5 right now.
It's actually probably a pretty decent line.
Didn't you get moved or you get signed?
He's in Utah now.
Yeah, you got.
He's
moved.
playing on a line with Barrett Hayden and Nick Schmaltz.
So says someone in front of a
Dylan,
crystal ball.
Dylan Gunther is right ahead of him.
Yeah,
in the
but
lineup.
someone with a crystal ball trying to predict the lines. In
yes.
July. So
It's Brock. Okay. We're up to hot and cold performers on a Wednesday, which feels weird. Rick, you want to go first? You're cold performer of the midweek.
Yeah, I'm a guy who likes to hit the grocery store quite often, and I'm always a self-checkout guy. Some people can't use the self-checkout line.
Yeah.
You should have to get a license.
Yeah, you gotta be. I don't know. There's some sort of test. You need to. Some people should not be using the self-checkout line. We'll leave it at that.
I'm upset.
They really do get.
You should have to do a self-assessment before you go to the self-checkout.
Yeah, something like that.
Go ahead, Dan. Your cold performer of the week.
My cold performer of the week is just my luck with my car this week. Woke up on Saturday morning to go out and do a couple errands to a flat tire. Had a metal chunk in it, which was what it was described to me as by the people at the fine folks at the tire center that helped me out. And then yesterday, driving home from work, I got Final Destination and I saw a big pebble come off of a dump truck and I watched it fly up in the air and I watched it carry right into the windshield right above my eye. And like, I'm telling you, there is only one little thin layer of glass left on the thing, but it is a decent sized chunk of my windshield that's going to get replaced on Monday. Tons of cracks within that windshield up until now, but this one was super scary. So my luck has been my cold performer of the week.
Are you thrilled? I'm not.
Ty?
Apologies if you talked about it, but it's the dude that tried to fight Nick Tarnasky.
No, he didn't.
We haven't talked about
If
that.
you get thrown in first off, if you're playing so slow that the guy behind you wants to fight you, and then you look at him and he looks like how Nick Tarnasky looks, don't fight him. Secondly, if you get thrown in the lake, you've lost the fight.
Yeah,
if the guy's punching you the first time, yelling bang every time he punches you, he's out of your league. If he does it again, you're fucked. He did finally give up after he got yeeted 8 feet in the air by another grown man. That guy, terrible fighter, presumably terrible golfer, all-around loser, cold performer.
Worse.
My cold performer of the week, I went to the Calgary Stampede Monday afternoon into the evening. Place kind of sucks if you're not watching the rodeo.
Oh boy.
Even worse if you're one of the animals.
Okay, Ty, your hot performer of the week.
10 in a row for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're losing right now. Knock on wood. Comeback time. But 10 in a row for the Blue Jays. Baseball is back in this country. It's great to see people getting on the bandwagon again. Shout out to Whit Merrifield's new podcast, 6 Inning Stretch, part of the Nation Network. It's awesome. He had Matt Chapman on this week as well. Had some really interesting things to say about Ross Atkins too. So go download that podcast. Go watch the Blue Jays. That's all.
We the best.
Dan?
Well, thank you to Tyler for reminding me of this viral video that's gone out. I was going to originally give it to my favorite band, AJR, who dropped a new single this morning, Betty, which is just phenomenal. Fun song to listen to, but it's all the jokes and memes that went around that Nick Tarnasky golf fight. I just was roaring laughing all day yesterday, and it continues into this morning when I'm just trying to pull it up, and then I forgot to pull it up. The guy is on Instagram. You can follow him. It's Travis Chapman Artist, and that's an underscore in between Travis Chapman and Artist. He made a painting of the final yeet of the golfer, and it's unbelievable. You have to go check it out on Hockey Fight social media. But Travis Chapman Artist gets my hot performer of the week.
Y'all having a good time out there.
Everybody except for that one guy was having a great time.
Yeah.
Rick?
This being a hockey podcast and us being old enough to have sat through more than one stoppage before, I have to give it to the NHL and the NHLPA for getting the CBA done, dealt with. There was no public pressure on a team on one side or the other. There was no taking this to the last minute. I don't think the CBA ends till next year, and they got it done a year in advance. It's just, for the older guys, it's nice to see this get done without having to do all the whole hoopla of like them and us and them, and using the public as to try and use them to waiver. It's nice to see done, out of the way, move on.
I'm staying alive.
My hot performer of the week. I went to the zoo on Sunday. The Calgary Zoo.
Calgary Zoo, okay.
It was amazing. I've been there before, but this time was just better. They have a polar bear there. That guy was digging around. The penguins are epic. Great penguins exhibit. Just my full visit to the zoo. It was awesome. Here you go. 1 second.
Jones, barbecue foot massage.
Liam's entire hot and cold performers brought to you by Explore Calgary.
Explore Calgary, yeah. There you go. Thanks for listening to this Thursday edition of Oilers Nation Radio. We will be back next Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
See you then.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.